From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. At this moment, we have 21,700 COVID cases in India, and 19% of these cases are only from the city of Mumbai, where I'm broadcasting from this evening. In the last 1 month, our testing capacity has increased 24 times, but the conversion rate has on an average been 4.5%, and that is a sign that we are getting way ahead in this COVID battle, and that the lockdown has ensured that we are a few days away from a flattened curve.
In the last 84 days, over 21,000 people have tested positive for coronavirus in India. Out of which, over 4,300 people have already recovered, which means our recovery rate is close to 20%. With over 680 COVID-linked casualties, our fatality rate is less than 4%, which when compared to the United States, Spain, Italy, France and Germany is very, very low.
Although we do not anticipate that we will have the worst of conditions, but still, God forbid, if we have them, we are prepared for the worst also. And all over the country we have already in advance created these dedicated COVID hospitals, these dedicated COVID health centers.
So while the government is fighting COVID on a war footing, it also believes these curbs have managed to flatten the curve. Look at this graph. After recording the 400th case on the 23rd of March, the yellow line shows how the growth has largely been linear except for one spike.
डिफ़िकल्ट सवाल है बताना कि 3 मई तक पीक आएगा कि कब पीक आएगा, मगर ये हम लोग का काफ़ी स्टेबल चल रहा है और जैसे कि बताया है कि 4.5% पॉजिटिविटी आ रही है, वही बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट टी टाइप की लाइन चल रही है। तो आप इसको ये भी कह सकते हैं कि हम लोग कर्व को फ्लैटन कर पाएँ, ये भी सोच सकते हैं, तो अभी इसमें कहना बड़ा मुश्किल है।
But despite the efforts, there have been lockdown violations in several parts of the country, especially in vegetable mandis, be it in Kolkata or in Delhi.
A lot of the vegetable vendors on the condition of anonymity have come out and said that the social distancing norms and also the odd even scheme are not being implemented inside the vegetable market, which gets flooded in the night since the selling of the fruits and vegetable markets takes place. And also there is a lot of loopholes that are being exercised here, which shouldn't be the case, at least for now.
But the steps undertaken by the government to contain the spread of the virus are yielding results, because during the lockdown period, despite a 24-fold increase in testing, the percentage of positive cases is not rising. Our testing to positive conversion ratio is below 5%. So for those who've used the testing argument to say India is not able to detect cases because it's not testing enough, here are some more facts. Post-lockdown, while our testing increased 24 times, the number of new positive cases grew 16 times.
पिछले 24 घंटे में अगर देखें तो देश में 1409 टोटल पॉजिटिव कंफर्म केसेस एडिशनल आए हैं, which takes our total confirmed cases to 21,393. इन केसों में अगर देखें तो टोटल केसेस अंडर एक्टिव मेडिकल सुपरविजन 16,454 हैं। एक पॉजिटिव न्यूज़ के रूप में मैं आप लोगों की दृष्टि में लाना चाहूँगा कि अब तक टोटल 4,257 लोग क्योर हो चुके हैं। इवन कल में ही 388 एडिशनल पेशेंट्स क्योर हुए हैं, जो कि हमारा टोटल रिकवरी रेट देखें तो 19.89% तक लेकर जाता है।
In 10 days, lockdown too will end. As of now, India seems to have achieved its first big success by flattening the curve. So will lockdown cynics take back their words? Let's debate.
when the lockdown began, we were always looking forward to the day, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, when we would start talking about is the curve flattening. And if you remember, Dr. Thakkar, I had said to you 3 weeks back and 4 weeks back, and now the interesting thing, Anand, has become that now I have more doctor friends than ever before. I anyway must have a lot of doctor friends on my phone list, but today my list of doctor friends who I meet on TV has become very long, and all of them know, like Dr. Thakkar knows, when this started, I used to ask him, when will we talk about the flat curvening? And Dr. Thakkar has a very terse approach. He's the kind of doctor who scares you sometimes, and he would reprimand me saying that it's too early to talk about it. We'll talk about it when the time comes. He's a very pragmatic man. But today, let me ask you, Dr. Thakkar, if I'm looking at the numbers of late, truly, and I want to start with you because I consider you never sweeten the dressing. You always put it out as it is. We have 21,700 cases, but our spike since last night is 6%. Now, about 2 weeks back, our spike was 17%, even 20% on a day-to-day basis. Today, our spike is 6%. How are we doing?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Thakkar, how are we doing?
I think for the moment you can say that we have just about started putting our right foot forward. But I want to give you a balanced view. We in English say one swallow does not make a summer. I think it's early days. Maharashtra and the west of India is still spiraling heavily. We are seeing a lot of asymptomatic patients. I think we need to see these numbers persisting for at least 5 to 7 days before I can bring the smile back on my face for a longer duration of time. Because what is important to remember is not the numbers of yesterday and today. The curve should flatten and should remain persistently flattened. Because if that does not happen, and you see again a flare-up, you will be flattering to deceive. So as the tests increase, we are getting asymptomatic patients. The silver lining will really be when these asymptomatic patients remain asymptomatic. They don't need ICUs. We don't have such high mortality. Our morbidity is less, and our epidemiologists are thus proven right. I want to wait and hold my horses for 1 more week before joining my hands in applause.
Okay. So you've quietened me down a bit. You've curbed my enthusiasm as always. I will never forgive you for that. You always do that, Dr. Thakkar, but that's what makes you what you are. You see, Anand, now we must start having this discussion because I think the reason we need to have a discussion here, Dr. Ram Subramaniam is with me, and everyone, please feel free to come in. My problem is Dr. Ajay Kumar, as I was joking to someone, Rajiv Rudy, my friend of many years, knows this. I was joking to someone that in my COVID discussions, I have never had so much politeness in my life on television. All the doctors are so polite, they wait for each other's turn. So that's why I deliberately got one politician on the panel today, Rajiv Rudy. And I also take a pleasure in making Rajiv Rudy wait. It's fun sometimes to make the politician wait for his turn, isn't it?
Arnab, this is your rehab.
Yeah, this is my rehab, and it's your detox. Now, my question is today, Dr. Ram Subramaniam, if you can hear me, he's the Chief of Infectious Diseases at the Apollo Hospital in Chennai. Our doubling rate is looking good. We have had the lowest spike in 18 days, at 7% this morning. 1/5 of people have recovered. The fatality rate is half the global average. But importantly, our testing is on the rise. We have tested over 5 lakh samples to be precise, and we have a fairly decent positive ratio of only 4%. If I put all of these 4 things together, Dr. Subramaniam, please look into your crystal glass and tell me, where will we be on the 3rd of May? That's what the nation wants to know.
I think we will be doing very well on the 3rd of May. There is absolutely no doubt that we have at this point flattened the curve. But what we need to do is wait and see what happens after the 3rd of May, because there is bound to be a resurgence after the 3rd when the normalcy returns. Because we have managed to do this due to physical distancing and ensuring that people don't come into contact with each other. To understand the current situation, you need to know the exponential growth of the virus, which means, let me give you a small example, that you have a pond with lilies and one lily doubles every day. So a lily, for the pond to become fully full, if it takes 30 days, you need to understand by day 29, half the lily pond is full. By day 28, quarter of the lily pond is full. And by day 27, only 1/8 of the lily pond is full, which means in a matter of last 4 or 5 days, there is an explosion of cases which completely fills the lily pond. We have managed to bring the lockdown at a stage when we probably were only in the 5th or the 6th day, so that has dramatically flattened the curve. But when this pressure is released, there will be a rebound, but not to the same extent as it would have otherwise happened. So yes, there will be a resurgence, but it will be much, much slower and lower.
Okay, so then why don't we look at an alternative scenario? Dr. B.S. Ajay Kumar is the chairman and CEO, is an oncologist of this HCG group of hospitals from the beautiful city of Mysore. And I'd like to get him into the debate with Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. There is another option, and I'll get Anand and Royden and Mr. Rudy in just a bit. The other alternative which some people, including me, I must confess, support, is that if we are going to be in a really good situation by the 3rd of May, but not quite there, and if the statistical prognosis would be that if we do 10 more days, or just 2 more weeks, then we are going to get there. Then if I look at how far we've come, perhaps a lot of Indians would say, okay, let's have another 2 weeks more and take it to the finish. Do you think that's a good idea, say extending the lockdown, or at least the tougher measures of the lockdown by another 10, 12 days, maybe 2 weeks? I'd like Dr. Ajay Kumar to take that, and after that, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai.
Thank you very much. And see, what I feel is really there will be no need to extend the lockdown. What we have to do is, India is a vast country. We have to look at hotspots where the areas are cordoned off and possibly give some benefit to the elderly population and keep them isolated. So we have to segregate India into green zone, orange zone and red zone. And we have to open green zones. There are so many districts with no cases. There is no reason why the economic activity, regular life cannot start as long as you prevent others from going there or movement is prevented. So we have to take a very astute view on this in terms of how to get the nation back to normal in stages. So lockdown cannot be opened at one time. So we have already identified the areas where, like for example, Kerala, amazingly they have done well. So it looks like Kerala can be open, but Maharashtra cannot be. Whereas you look at Karnataka is in a limbo, whether to open or not. Parts of it are already open now. So we need to, there are districts in Karnataka which have not had a single case. Why should these people be separated out?
Okay, so
why should there be under this lockdown? So we have to really learn from the experience and start looking at it. Certainly area of concern for me as a doctor monitoring the cases, running hospitals is Mumbai and Pune as well as Ahmedabad. Some of these hot areas certainly should be cordoned off, and we have to reach flattening and see the downward side happening. But the rest of the nation need not suffer because of that.
Okay, so let's quickly get the views in. Let me put that to Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan. Is it possible to do that? You see, we are not China, we are not Hong Kong, we are not New Zealand, we are not Germany, we are not South Korea. We have too much diversity. We have too many states, we are a true federation. We have a lot of independence for the state governments. Our legislations are passed differently. So China can have an omnibus thing, Dr. Swaminathan. New Zealand can, but India can't. And some people will say, oh, but Dr. Ajay Kumar is saying, take it, lift it in Kerala, but maybe not in Karnataka and certainly not in Maharashtra. But is that going to be of any use? Either it should be national or not. I've been asking that from day one. Dr. Subramaniam, Swaminathan.
See, I am in favor of a nationally run program because it's a nationwide issue. It has to be something that is led from the center. It cannot be a fragmented approach because that will lead to too many confusions and too many errors happening. Yeah. And I think Dr. Ram Subramanian said that all you need is one mistake happening for the contagion to start all over again. And all the hard work will get undone. While I think some leeway can be given, it cannot be each person running their own program. It has to be centrally controlled. And that's how it is in every country which handles a pandemic or any kind of a disaster situation. We can't have a fragmented approach that invariably leads to trouble.
Let's get our politician into the debate. Let's get the senior national spokesperson of the BJP, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, who's really in the hot seat then. Mr. Rudy, you see, so far in the discussion, Anand, Mr. Rudy, Mr. Roach, but first to Mr. Rudy, it's all up in the air. And we want as clear a sense from you as possible. Tell me, Mr. Rudy, do you really think, today is 23rd of April, in 9 days, are you going to be ready to lift the lockdown? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Arnab, first, what happened with you last night is something which is a matter of concern.
Thank you.
And we are all with you, and I'm sure the facts will come out and you'll be able to, you'll know exactly what was the intent there. So that is part A.
Thank you.
When you talk about, you see, we have been hearing doctors. I, as a politician, have gone along with what the government has decided and what the doctors and ICMR has said. Now, it is the most heartening thing today that people have started discussing that the curve is flattening. ICMR says that. When we look at the world figures, 26 lakh people affected, 185,000 deaths, and 730,000 people who have recovered across the world, while India is 21,000 cases, 681 deaths, 4,376 recovered. Now, there is always an argument that we have not tested much. I do not know. It is not like the other path test which country is prepared. This is a new situation where a lot of exercise is required to do this test, as I understand. My submission is very simple here. When we see that what we are going to see the 3rd, can any doctor or anyone suggest us the last date for coronavirus? Is there going to be a last date in June, July, August, September? Anywhere something, it happens, it will be quarantine. So we have to learn to live with the corona till the time vaccine is created. Now, the country knows and is aware that this is a disease which is deadly and is a killer disease. So a regime has been established in the people of this country, whether doctors, whether politicians, whether businessmen, whether laborers, whether people working in the industry, they all know that there is something corona which can be a killer. Now, with all these facts today, what I perceive that after 3rd, what would be required is to flatten the curve of politics which is going to happen. Because if the Prime Minister says, let's put it to a normal situation, there would be states saying that, no, I have a different viewpoint. So there would be a lot of contradiction, and no one can, even no doctor up to this date has given a final word that on 31st of June, everything is going to, if that final date is not there, we have to learn to live with this corona. Absolutely, the situation will remain. Flights have to be resumed, trains have to be resumed, industrial activity has to be brought back to the track. So with all these challenges, we have to see that the curve which is flattened does not go for a spike, and we have to live, we have to get out of this corona, and we have to nudge back the economy and bring back our life to normalcy. So doctors will insist that it's infectious. I would also insist, as long as the doctors insist. But having said that, we have to see how the world is responding, what India should do, what are the responsibilities of the states, and what is the responsibility of the central government. It has to be a mix and match to carry forward.
You are asking for that extremely rare commodity, Mr. Rudy. Very, very rare commodity among politicians called, and everyone is on, called maturity. And I think you're going to find it exceedingly difficult to get what you want, because You see, this is the problem, and I think now please don't say I'm supporting the BJP again, for God's sake, but what he's saying makes absolute sense. I mean, the fact is, in Hong Kong, people who have flattened the curve, Anand, two examples, and yes, I know you want to come in. You know, I love it when I restrain Anand for 20 minutes on the program. He's like a caged tiger, and he's, you know, he wants to jump out of that window. Believe me, I also feel the same way nowadays when I'm on the other side. No, but I just want to make a serious point, Anand, that any country which has flattened the curve has had no politics. You know, New Zealand reported 28th February, went into lockdown 24th March. They have a great Prime Minister. They are reporting below 10 cases on average in the last 2 days. They are looking at removing the lockdown on 28th April. Was there any politics in New Zealand, Mr. Roach? Was there any Royden Roach in New Zealand? No. You know why Germany was successful? Because Germany does not have a Royden Roach. You know why South Korea was successful? Because South Korea does not have a Royden Roach. The problem is when you have Royden Roaches, you cannot flatten the curve. Rajiv Rudy is spot on. If you don't have politics, you can win together.
Now before...
Yes, okay, who's going in first? Between both of you.
Now, before Mr. Roach comes in.
Go on.
Before Mr. Roach comes in, can I...
Let him go in.
You know, Arnab, there is no doubt that we are... All right, thank you. Arnab, we are winning the war against COVID. There is no doubt about it. But can I please take 1 minute and provide you a counterfactual? As far as flattening the curve is concerned, I can't comment whether we flattened it because nobody knows what the curve is. It's like saying I have lost weight without my getting onto the weighing machine. The only metric I'm looking at is the mortality number, and that is really low. If you recall, 5 weeks ago, many were saying we are 2 weeks behind Italy and the USA.
Yes, yes.
Well, our mortality figure today is 687. Italy's is 26,000. 2 weeks ago, it was 17,000. Many people were saying by April 30th, we'll have 1 million dead. UP and Bihar combined has a population of 331 million, the same as USA. UP and Bihar death figure right now is 23. The USA's is 48,000. So clearly something is happening, either because of our high basal immunity or BCG immunization or the success of our lockdown. My view is that it is a mix of all these reasons. You know, but I have to tell you 2 reasons why I do not believe that, you know, in this flattening of the curve, because according to me, beyond plain tabulation of the COVID positive cases, their analysis or charting is actually really meaningless. Because A, increase in cases doesn't necessarily mean infection is spreading because cases depend on testing. New cases of today could have been tested 3 days ago, but weren't. In which case the rate would have dropped today and we'd have said the infection is decreasing. And B, very important, please give me 30 seconds or 20 seconds. Fitting countrywide specific data into this so-called Wuhan expat model published in the Lancet, German scientists have determined the global detection rate, and they believe it on average to be 6%, which means we are detecting 16 times less COVID cases. Meaning the silver lining that our death rate is 0.4%, not 3.2%. What we really need from right now, Arnab, is antibody testing, because without it, we are traversing a tunnel blindfolded and frightened.
Yeah, it's a, you know, that's why I want to go back to the point Mr. Rudy made, and then I'm coming back to the political debate. Royden, respond to Mr. Rudy. You see, today, you are in a state of, if you don't mind my saying so, fright. You're looking afraid to say anything, because I'll tell you why. I'll explain why you're feeling this way. I'm anyway, you know, I have my own, what would I say, self-acquired medical, quack medical degree. And that is a degree I give myself. You know what that is, Dr. Thakkar? I am a MCH MD in psychosomatics. Having anchored so many programs, I can understand both psychological and somatic influences on individuals. I can read people's signals and facial expressions beautifully. Royden is scared today.
Conferred upon you.
I'll tell you why he's scared.
He conferred upon you.
Yeah, but you know, I'm a hypochondriac.
Interpreter of dreams, Arnab.
No, I'm saying this, Royden. See, Royden, the lockdown cynics have failed. All you need to tell Rajiv Rudy is, listen, Rajiv, I was wrong. You told me lockdown will not work. You said lockdown measures will not work. You said no science, no evidence, no modeling backs this total lockdown. You tried to defame India's lockdown. You said our pandemic lockdown will be a human tragedy. You said people will die. Raghuram Rajan had predicted the end of the world for India. Nothing happened. We are doing well. What Rajiv Rudy is telling you today is what a mature person tells another. Listen, when we lift the lockdown, we need to be on the same page. We don't need you to go and start finding fault again. Okay. Because then we won't win. Mr. Roach, please respond to Rajiv Rudy.
Now let me come in.
Yes, please, please come in.
Arnab, I have 4 important points to make.
Yes.
Okay, I have 4 important points to make. The first thing is, we should stop selling paracetamol open in the market.
What are you saying?
Paracetamol has to be stopped in the market openly across the counters.
It's brought new issues.
They should not sell them anymore. And as you said, testing. Testing has to be increased, Arnab.
But there are 5 lakh tests as of now.
We increased the test and we got the numbers have increased. The numbers have increased, Arnab. The reason why we say we compare other countries to India, India people live in more clusters. We live in clusters. So we need these places to be thoroughly done. Okay, the testing has to be thoroughly done in these clusters. And the other thing regarding the lockdown, if you ask me, without any political issue on it, the lockdown has to continue to the 10th of June.
10th of June, okay.
Results, you will have to wait till 10th of June.
Beautiful.
And I think the Prime Minister,
you are all wonderful.
We all are with him. There's no. The political issue there.
Rajiv.
Everyone will be with him because.
This is brilliant. You see, I tell you one thing. I tell you one thing. Heads I win, tails you lose situation. Exactly 1 month back, 1.5 months back, same Royden Roach. You remember, Anand? Same Royden Roach who came and said, people will die, yes. There'll be no food, we'll be looking for fish in the desert, we'll be looking for water in a rock, we'll be finished because of the lockdown. The same person comes today, Rajiv Rudy, everyone saw on and says, you have to extend the lockdown for another 1.5 months. I mean, what do you want?
No. Arnab, you show me, but I can show you evidence that I said.
You can show evidence for anything. But 1 second. Dr. Bagai, please.
February 18th.
No, Rajiv Rudy wants to respond. Rajiv, come on. Rajiv, come on.
February 26th.
No, let Rajiv respond. After that, Dr. Bagai coming right to you.
There is a small submission, a very small.
Yeah, go on.
A very small submission. We did a complete lockdown till the 14th and we relaxed it post 28th. And you can see this country is gradually responding to whatever the governments have been saying. And we can see the response of the people too, because the change from 28th is there are about 40 odd relaxations which have come and everyone is behaving. Now the question is, how do we come to this figure of 30th June or 28th June? We actually do not know, because the numbers after testing will certainly keep going up. But at the same time, recovery would be more. So how do you fix the D date is a question which everyone has to understand. The very fact that this great awareness has come inside the people of this country, it's not going to be business as usual. We have to modify and adapt to there are clusters, there are people living in small holes, there are people in slums, these issues are there. But India has to move on. Let the government of the date with the state governments, with the Prime Minister, with the scientists, decide what is the best way forward. Please do not block this process of bringing back normalcy, which is very, very important. Along with medicine, we had 1 lab. Today we have 300 labs. We did not have beds and we did not have kits. We did not have those PCR test equipments or things. Or those tests. We are working on that. So simultaneously, let's move on. Let's not put a bracket around the government or the decision making saying 30th June. So if something happens, central government would be responsible.
Why does it have to be?
Let's work it out.
Can I make a submission? Just thinking aloud, Dr. Bagai. Another argument will be, why does it have? We are all mature people. I presume so. Big presumption.
Yeah,
big presumption. But why can't we have a dynamic policy, Dr. Bagai, where we say we will evaluate the situation and evaluate our response. We are a disciplined society. We will have containment of major hotspots. We'll have graded normalcy. We will slowly decide and respond maybe on a week-by-week basis after the 3rd.
Yeah. Thank you, Arnab. and I've been the most patient. But first off is, I think you will get a doctorate degree, and under the new Epidemic Act, you'll be safe. No one will chase you in the middle of the night, and if you do, you contact me and I'll come for you.
Yes, thank you.
But on a more serious note, I think India has been a beacon of light in this global pandemic of medical carnage, and this virus has scavenged the world. Just comparing the population density between US and India, or Italy and India, India would have had more than 300,000 to 400,000 deaths. We've not done that because of the appropriate lockdown of the government. Now, coming to what the actual appreciable matrix is, what is the accountable matrix? It's actually a progression rate, a daily progression rate divided by the fatality rate. That's the death rate. The death rate at the present moment is hovering around 3. Actually, it's a lot lower because there will be a lot more patients in the community which have not been tested because of the IgG, IgM not being that available into the market. As far as what we need to do closer towards 3rd of May, I think the situation is dynamic. The target will shift, so will our aim shift. And I don't think anyone will have a crystal ball to say they are avatars of Isaac Newton to say what is the exact date. But I think closer towards end of the month, we will be in a more firm position. But I must say this, that we can't be complacent. This is just the first lap of a long marathon. Our continuous efforts will obviously be an ongoing effort as far as the public health awareness drives and scrutiny of the community and the community testing. But in the end, I would only like to make one last point. I think a lot of naysayers said a lot of things before the lockdown and it didn't work. But this is the 80-20 ratio paradox. We've achieved 80% during this period. Now, do we want to go for that last 20% and lose that 80%? That means it's a fine balance between what we've achieved medically and socially versus what we may lose, the 80% of everything we've gained as far as the economic situation is concerned. Not to forget that protein energy malnutrition, tuberculosis, diarrheas, pneumonias, and other scourges of India are already there. So we have to weigh a fine balance between what we have gained and what we may potentially lose. But so far, so good. And I think India has shown very tall and shown out very, very loud in the world as a country of such large magnitude and geographic distribution in what we have achieved. It's hats off to the government being completely apolitical. I'll say it again, hats off to the government.
So if we are to look at a graded lockdown, and absolutely hats off to the government, hats off to the people of India for their perseverance through these many challenges. Question to Dr.
Can I
Thakkar.
come in and correct Mr. Roach?
Yes, you love doing that. Would you make it, briefly, please do.
Very briefly, Mr. Roach is wrong when he says we need to do a lot of testing. The only testing we are doing is actually RT-PCR testing. We have done 500,000 tests and our positive rate is only 4%. In US and Italy, it is 20%. So this is not the kind of testing that we need to do test. We need to do antibody testing to find out how many millions had COVID and are already cured so that they can re-enter the workforce.
Why are we not doing, sir? Why are we not doing the rapid test also? No, why are you not doing the rapid test? Why is rapid test being put on hold?
I'd like Dr. Ram Subramaniam to answer that. Dr. Subramaniam will answer to you on whether or not we are doing rapid testing. You speak with so much conviction. Let me get him in. Are we not doing the right kind of testing, Dr. Subramaniam? And there's one more question which emerges from this. Let me ask Mr. Subramaniam. Mr. Subramaniam, the real issue that people want to know is, apparently in India, the asymptomatic number is relatively much higher than in other countries. So people who have the means now want to go in for optional testing. Like there are a few people who've not been exposed, have had no secondary level exposures, but who just want to have a test to be safe. Does that work? Is it necessary? Are we in this time post-lockdown going to see a completely different logic of testing till the vaccine comes?
Yes, we have to evolve with the way we test. Currently, the nasopharyngeal swab or the PCR test is the gold standard in detecting the cases, but we need to understand that even this test is only anywhere from 60 to 70% sensitive, which means out of 100, we will still be missing 30 to 40 people who are actually infected, but the test may be negative. Now, serological testing is the way forward, especially because there is more and more information that there are 2 or 3 types of this Wuhan virus, what happened in China and Wuhan was a milder variety, but what it has mutated into in Italy and probably some parts of USA, mainly the eastern coast, is a more virulent type of the original virus. Whereas probably countries like India and several other Southeast Asian countries still have a milder variety, and that is the reason why probably the mortality rate is low. But the problem with the serological test is, if it is a 100% sensitive test picking up all the antibodies, it will be a wonderful way to determine who is infected and what is the prevalence. But we know that the sensitivity of these tests are in fact worse than the PCR test, probably in the region of 30 to 40%. So it is not a practical way to at least identify the current serological prevalence in India, unless a better test comes in.
Okay, would it be fair to say then, you know, Dr. Subramaniam, that we are probably looking, because I'm trying to just look ahead and think, we are probably looking at a complete lockdown till the 3rd, a graded lockdown for about 3 weeks after that? Maybe the next, maybe the next 3 weeks of May is a return to normalcy, but it will take a 2 to 3.5 week period for that graded return to normalcy to actually happen. Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan, would you like to take that?
I think it's going to be a little complicated because I think it depends on too many variables. I don't think, as people have pointed out, that we should make a single right answer and say this is what is going to happen. We'll have to just roll with the punches. And I'm very happy to see that a lot of people are saying that we need to dig in our heels for the long term. This is just the battle. The war is still ongoing. So unless we have more data, we can't say how far we have come in the war. I think serological data is going to be absolutely critical, but unfortunately, the tests that we have now are wholly inadequate. We need better tests. And we also need to look at newer technology, possibly things like LAMP and stuff like that, to help us make more rapid diagnosis and also to try and see how we can upscale this. Unfortunately, PCR centers in our country are still very limited.
Do you think, Dr. Ajay Kumar, we are already beginning to sort of live with COVID? Because with so many asymptomatic cases, another theory doing the rounds is there are a lot of people who have had or are maybe carriers of COVID. Maybe our resilience is greater, or maybe the variant of COVID in India is not as extreme, or maybe we have some level of inherent or herd immunity building up already. Is that too much to say? That we are sort of coming to terms with COVID as a people?
No, I think we have to come to terms with it. For example, Sweden has shown the importance of herd immunity, and India being over 60-70% youth population, all we have to do is to protect the elderly. We cannot live with the fear of COVID for months and months to come. We have to fight and win the war over this COVID. And one of the ways to do it is to, some herd immunity has to come. As we realize the strains, what are the strains which are causing this, which is like what was articulated, which is the strain which is likely to cause high mortality, how do we protect? For example, 3.16% is actually higher than what in literature is quoted at 2%. Maybe US has more right now, or Italy. But when you take it generally across the globe, it's supposed to be 2%.
Yeah.
And most of it is tilted toward elderly. With India being mostly youth, that may be the reason our mortality rate is low. So we need a lot more deep study on this before we come to a conclusion on what is the right answer. It is a study in progress, honestly.
Absolutely. Yes, briefly, Dr. Bagai. Yeah.
Very quick point.
Yeah,
very quickly. I think everyone must understand the difference between a test being sensitive and specific. So when you talk in terms of being sensitive, means it's picking up the positivity in the population, in which the rapid PCR test only has an upper limit of 67 to 70%. But the IgM gives you a sensitivity of 84 to 90%. So for mass surveillance, it holds good. Also keep in mind that there is a recent data now being shown, apart from the BCG and the herd innate immunity which Indians have, and the gastrointestinal bugs which protect Indians, is the role of the oral polio vaccine, which is a part of the mass immunization at birth. That also is shown to give innate immunity, and the trials are now happening overseas. As can that be one of the measures? So I think the future is good, but we cannot keep our guard down. This is a long haul. I think the exit is going to be graded geographic-wise and industry-wise.
Yeah, Rajiv Rudy raised his hand. Last word, Rajiv. So we are looking, it seems to me, if I hear you or the way you're thinking, we are looking at a graded return away from lockdown after the first week of May.
Arnab, me as a politician, I still remember that we have a season for dengue after this. We have something called Japanese encephalitis, which happens to children in Muzaffarpur. We have many more challenges along with COVID, which is going to come. So let's not forget. But the positive aspect is, if you look into the background of the ICMR report, they say that the UK, Spain and Italy crossed 20,000 mark in 40 days, and it took us 82 days to cross 20,000 mark. And we required, for all these people, we have not put more than 100 people on ventilator, and less than 500 people were put on oxygen. These are positive aspects of the fight which we have achieved. And I think the doctors have spoken so much. Most of the technical things I would not understand. But politically, we can say the Prime Minister, along with the state governments, have done an exceptional, given an administrative boost to what has been happening. Let's have faith in the system. They will decide it, and I'm sure we'll all come along. But we have to nudge back the economy to normalcy, because that is another challenge which we have to also handle. I think
this has been
wonderful talking to you this evening.
Well, we've got a fantastic overall perspective in terms of the way the government's looking at things, and also from our doctors today. Great talking to all of you, and I look forward to seeing you soon in a time when that decision is going to be taken. But remember, we cannot say when the peak will arrive or when the graph will be flat. This is going to be an ongoing situation.